Hey everyone, so yesterday we started the concept of learning about the concept of interVLAN routing. Another method we can use that isn't very well, I guess, used is inter-VLAN routing using separate router interfaces for each VLAN. This isn't very common just because we have limitations here. So each VLAN would be connected would have its own interface in a router. And as you can imagine, there's a limited amount of interfaces that a router might have. A better alternative would probably be router on a stick or, using like a layer 3 switch and using SVIs. But we will go over how to do inter-VLAN routing via separate router interfaces. Um, Okay, it it's pretty easy. We'll go through that right now. I have VLAN 10 here on the left side. It's going to be using 192.168.1.0. VLAN 20 is over here in the yellow, 192.168.2.0. So they're on two separate networks. And our goal is for VLAN 10, our PC here, to be able to communicate to VLAN 20, our PC here. And of course, in the real world, there wouldn't be just one device on a VLAN. There would probably be like 20 plus, but this is just for example's sake. So let's start off our configurations on the router. So we'll go to command line interface, and it's going to ask us, would you like to enter the initial configuration dialog? We're just going to say no here. Enable, we can type in N for short, and then configure terminal. So what I just do is conf and then T for configure terminal. From here, we can edit the host name. So let's say if you don't like the router being called router, or if you have multiple routers, like a router 1, router 2, router 3, and so on, you could just type in host name and then R1. And you can see uh, this router is now known as R1. So with this setup, we're going to have two different interfaces going up to the router, one for VLAN 10 and one for VLAN 20. What we're going to do is let's take a look at this interface, Gigabyte Ethernet 0/0. I'll type in interface G 0/0. And actually, before we do this, let's go ahead and see do show run. Do show run is going to show the configuration of the entire system the router is using. So let's see. We can see Gigabyte Ethernet 0/0 has no IP address. These settings, duplex auto and speed auto, preferably you want them to match with the other side of the switch. We'll leave them auto for now. Um, and we can see it's in a shutdown state. That can also be seen on Cisco Packet Tracer with a red upside down triangle. So these interfaces are down. Another way we could see um, how the status of these interfaces, we could say do show IP interface brief. And that's going to show you every single interface that is available, what IP address it's assigned to, uh, the status of the layer 1 protocol. So the cable, is it down or up? As you can see from this, it's automatically down for routers, which is a good thing because if you just bought a router out of the box and the interface is already up, that's kind of a security risk. The line protocol here is down as well. With one command, we can bring these both up. So we are already an interface G 0/0. Now watch here when I type in command no shutdown. So you can see a green triangle, which means the interface is up. And we see this orange thing. That's part of layer 2 protocol known as spanning tree protocol. That's basically this port is like it's listening right now. It's checking for traffic. It's saying, "Hey, can I be operational right now?" I don't want to cause network loops or broadcast storms or anything like that. So it will stay orange for maybe 30, 45 seconds, and then you can see it is up. And there's actually a command we could use to make it up instantly. Um, that's only recommended though if it's being connected to an end device. I would not use that command on a network to network device. But let's go ahead and oh, and you get this nice message too in the CLI. Line protocol and interface G00 change the state to up. Now let's take a look also. What does that look like on do show run? So as you know, 0/0 is up, and as you can see, the shutdown is gone, signifying that this interface is up. We can also do show IP interface brief, and we can see the one that we just activated, 0/0, still doesn't have an IP address. That's okay. But layer 1 protocol is up, and layer 2 protocol is up. That's what we want. So let's go ahead and resolve this. Let's make an IP address for this interface. So on a Cisco device, we type IP address. And let's go ahead and give this one 192.168.1. Let's say 1. So the first usable host IP address on this network. And the subnet mask is a /24, so 255.255.255.0. Doesn't hurt to double check. So let's see. Is this in VLAN 10? Let's double check. Yep, perfect. Push enter. And then let's go do show IP interface brief. And we didn't have to type that in. Again, we could push up arrow and we would have been there. But as we can see, now the IP address is reading what we typed in. So this interface now has an IP address and it's up. So it's good to go. So VLAN 10 is okay as far as the router is concerned. Let's go now to interface G0/1. This one's down. I'm gonna go a little bit faster now for the sake of the video. I'm gonna say no shutdown. So it's gonna be the same things as we did for the previous interface. Um, Let me move the command line interface here so we can see that the IP address we want is the first on this network. So let's go ahead and say, oh, by the way, you don't have to type in this whole thing. IP add, push tab, and it autofills it for you. As long as there's enough information for the router to kind of guess what it is, it will help fill that for you. There we go. And now this is going to be the only configurations we need for the router for the time being. Let's say do right, and we're basically saving the configurations for the router. So exit out of that. The router is ready to go. The next thing we need to do is let's configure this switch. So on the switch, command line interface, enter, enable configure terminal. Let's configure the interface that's hooked up to the router using VLAN 10. I'm going to say interface G0/1. And let's say we want this to be a switch port to utilize VLAN 10. What we would do for that is switch port mode access. That's basically telling the switch, hey, the interface that's connected via G0/1, that is going to serve as a switch port. But we're not done right. We're not done yet. We also have to say switch port access. Now we have to tell the device what VLAN we should assign this to. Let's say VLAN 10. Access VLAN does not exist. Creating VLAN 10. So that happens for a specific reason. Um, these switches don't know those VLAN 10, VLAN 20, and so forth. Let's go ahead and create those VLANs. So VLAN 10 is already created. The only one else that we have to create is VLAN 20. That's actually what we're going to do next because we're good with this interface. we will configure this interface and it will create VLAN 20 in the process. So let's exit interface G0/2. And we want this one as a switch port too. Switch port mode access switch port. And we want this one to serve as a link for VLAN 20. And there we go. Both VLANs are created. Okay, so that is there, but that's not all. Let's see the do show run. So these are set up. I also have to set up the actual VLANs themselves. So these don't look like regular interfaces. Think of them more so as a virtual interface. We'll go to interface VLAN. With this, we want to assign this VLAN 10 with an IP address in the VLAN 10 network. Let's go ahead and utilize the last usable host IP of this network. So we'll do that. Uh-oh, I messed up. Oh, can you guys figure out what I did wrong? Okay, so I'm going to use Control A. I forgot to do IP address. There we go. And we're going to do the same thing for interface. Let me exit out of here. Interface VLAN 20. I need interface VLAN 20 to have an IP address as well. So we'll type IP address. Let me move this so you can see VLAN 20's network. Let's give it the last assignable host address on its network as well. And do you guys know why we can't use 255? Yep, that's because it's a broadcast address that cannot be used for assigning host. So, okay, we have these interfaces finished. We have VLAN 10 and 20 complete on those. Let's go ahead and work on this link. So we're going to exit, go to interface F /1. It's a good practice to say no shutdown, but as you can see, this interface is already on. It's just that there's not really a way of telling in a actual network environment unless you ping or if you do show this command or that command like do show run or do show IP interface brief. But if you just type in no shutdown, you don't even have to do it. Just type no shutdown and then you're golden. So we want this. Um, we can't use a switch port, individual switch port. Instead, we want to combine switch ports. We want to make a trunk. So we want to say switch port mode trunk, and we want to say switch port trunk allowed VLAN 10 and 20. I'm just saying, hey, VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 traffic is perfect. It can communicate with each other. Like each a packet from VLAN 20 can come here. I'm gonna say do right. Yeah, a trunk is basically um it's like a switch port that uh allows you to have communication with multiple VLANs, and it does this through a process known as tagging. So the switch will include a certain tag um, signifying where this traffic is from and where it's going. Okay, so this one is ready. We also have to fix this one up as well. So let's go ahead and do that. Enable conf uh, interface FO/1 switch port old trunk switch port trunk allowed VLAN 10 20. And since I have no protocol that allows the switches to communicate with each other, I'm going to manually type in the interface VLAN information again. You could use something such as um, BTP, and that would basically a switch would serve as a host for the other switches, and it would send the information between for each switch. But we're not going to do that today. All right, so that is set up. And the last thing we want to do on this switch is configure this interface going to the client, the PC. So we'll say interface F/2. We'll say IP address. Oh, sorry. Ignore that. That is actually going to be a switch port. Mode access, switch port, access, line 10. So you can see the line interface has changed to up. And let's go ahead and configure the default gateway and the IPv4 address on this client. So when we go to configuration mode, from here, we can put the default gateway in. The default gateway is basically where this information goes to route to another network. So anytime you have something like that, it's going to go to the router or a layer 3 switch. But in our case, it's going to be a router. So where the router meets. And we know we assigned VLAN 10's router interface as .1. So let's go to fast Ethernet 0. This is where we can assign the IP address for the actual computer. Not give it that. We'll give it 0.2, and then this is the correct subnet mask. So we're done with that. Now we have to set this all up, and then we should be ready to go. So I'm gonna move all this stuff over here. I'm gonna move my picture as well. Okay, so we are going to say interface F/2 switch port mode trunk switch port trunk allowed VLAN 10 20. Okay, so then we do right. Then I'm gonna focus on this switch because we always wanna establish both sides. So, oh, you can see this is actually block. These two interfaces are blocking each other. That's okay. We can fix that. So enable. Oh, if you ever have a typo and you don't wait, Control Shift and 6, and that fixes that. So we'll say switch port mode trunk. Oh, sorry guys. Oh, I did not specify an interface. That is the issue was there. Switch port mode trunk. Switch port trunk allowed VLAN. We're specifying that we only want 10 and 20 to be allowed on this. And we'll say do right. And we'll say no shutdown. All right. And we're also going to see if, so it looks like interface VLAN 10 and VLAN 20 are here already. Let's just say do show run, just to make sure. They're here, but they don't have a IP address. So do you guys remember the IPs we assigned to these? So VLAN 10 is going to have IP address 54, and exit interface VLAN 20 is going to have IP address 192.168.2.254, 255.255.250. Save that. And now the trunk is established. let's go ahead and work on this interface. That's just going to be a switch port because it's going to an host. So we'll say exit interface FO/1. We'll say switch port mode access switch port VLAN 20. Oh, I messed up. Oh, guys, I'm sorry. Switch port access VLAN 20. Then do right. The last thing we're going to do is let us configure this. So we'll go to configuration. We'll set the default gateway for VLAN 20's default gateway. So there we go. And we're also going to give this IP address. And the subnet mask is a /24, which is what the 3255s are. Now, let's see if our configurations work. So a way to see if what you have um what you have set up has worked is just do a simple ping. Oh, sorry guys. It would help if I try to ping the actual VLAN 20 from VLAN 10. So right now I'm using PC0. I'm going to try to ping PC1. So we have a reply. The first request timeout is normal. That's due to address resolution protocol doing its thing. But we're not done yet. Let's make sure we know VLAN 10 can talk to VLAN 20. Let's make sure VLAN 20 can talk to VLAN 10. So we'll do the same thing. Ping 192.168.1.2. And there you have it, guys. That is how we would do inter-VLAN routing via separate router interfaces. All right, thank you for watching.